everybody, hope you're well, hope you're having an amazing day, week, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. So I'm with Scott Rickson from the Mighty 100, who's going to share his story with you about his, in fact, Scott, would you like to introduce yourself and your company?
Yeah, sure. So my company is the Mighty 100, and we specialize in 100-day transformations. Mighty, because at the time I was training Naomi Scott for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, and 100 because it takes 100 days to change a behavior and a ritual. It was called that until we could find a better name, and we haven't yet. So that's why we're the Mighty.
And when you say the transformation, that's physical transformation.
Physical transformation, yes. So it's adapting behaviors and rituals around exercise and nutrition over a long enough period of time to change physique and inspire long-lasting change. That's the big thing that we push. Yeah, so that it's not a short-term thing; it's a long-term thing.
So is that helping people lose weight, or how's that work? Because we met last week. I was talking at NatWest conference, and I met Scott, and he did a test on me, and I don't actually drink much water, and he could tell me that I'm a bit like a 56-year-old, don't drink water, and all these things I need to do. So I was like, okay, awesome, you need to share this with the world, not me, just share what you're doing with everybody, and talk through your test, because you had that on the...
Yeah, so we use body stat equipment, which uses something called horizontal phase planing to tell us lots of really neat things about people's internal body environments. Once we have that information, then we have the metrics necessary to create a proper strategy for people. What we find a lot is people are dehydrated. Let's say you're an Olympic athlete, they get you to sign a hydration contract, and that's to the tune of 1 litre of water for every 50 pounds of body weight, because they understand there is a direct parallel between performance and hydration. However, at a hydration score of, if you don't mind me sharing...
Yeah, no, that's cool.
...less than 35%, we know that you're chronically dehydrated, which has a big impact on sleep, your ability to process information, even cognitively. That's why I forgot my name earlier on.
Yeah. But Scott did actually, after meeting Scott, I did buy a 4 litre container that I haven't started drinking it yet, but obviously I will, because you said a interesting statistic. You could lose a stone if you do something.
Oh gosh, absolutely. So obviously it's subjective to the individual, but for someone like yourself, if you were to actually start drinking water, you would drop about a stone in weight, which is 14 pounds.
And that would be over how long?
So that wouldn't be over a massive window of time. So bear in mind, it wouldn't be fat that you're getting rid of, not really. It would be more water that you're retaining, but we're talking about 7 to 12 days. Wow. But once again, don't take my word for it, give it a try.
Well, there's plenty of stones to come off me, so that's all good. Now, obviously success comes in many forms, and Scott, you've got a very successful business. And what's your backstory? What's your background?
Okay, so going right back 5 years ago, so I've always been a PT. That's what I've done. Personal trained in Canada and on cruise ships and all over the world. And then I came back to Milton Keynes, where I was looking to maybe find my own space and create a gym, and unfortunately I had a heart attack. I went down, and
how old were you then?
26.
26. Wow.
26 at the time, and I was diagnosed with a heart condition called arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy. Fortunately, my wife was able to keep me around until we got to the hospital, and then they were able to cardiovert me, and they saved my life. That's why I have to do the washing up now. But they then diagnosed me, they put a defibrillator in me, and they diagnosed me with the condition. Unfortunately, and the irony of this condition is something that actually makes your heart worse is exercise. Right. So they said from this point forward, no exercise. Maybe bowling, maybe golf, but that's it. Now at the time, I was super fit. I was back and forth from California. I spent quite a bit of time with my running clubs and heavy lifting and all this progressive stuff that I was doing, and I had to stop. And it was life altering.
That's a difficult. That's got to be really difficult for you as a personal trainer, successful personal trainer, doing all the things you're doing. Yeah. To then get that.
It was, and it was. It rocked me to the core, because the way I thought of myself was as successful athlete. At the time I was, at least. I defined myself through my physical appearance, and suddenly the way I validated myself, the way I connected with myself was gone. And I had to make some very serious judgment calls. At the time, everyone thought, I should stop personal training. And I totally understand that thought process, because why surround yourself with something that you can't get involved in?
So did you have the Mighty 100 at this point, or did you have multiple personal trainers, or was it just you at this point?
So at this point, it was just me. And I had to make a couple of judgment calls around where I would go moving forwards. And I decided there and then that I needed to create a space that would generate income if something was to happen to me. Unfortunately, the condition that I have is progressive, and it will get me in the end. And the more I exercise and the more I move and the more stress I put on myself, the further I progress the condition.
Okay.
See, ARVC is quite simply replacing healthy heart tissue with fat deposits, and unfortunately electricity doesn't travel correctly through these fat deposits, which leads to things called ventricular tachycardia, which is where you have really, really fast heartbeat, and then you risk cardiac arrest. So I have the defibrillator, which helps, but unfortunately the condition will progress. So for me, what I was looking for and what the success was going to be was to create a company that, if I went down, would take care of my girls. That's it.
How old are you girls?
So my daughter Joy is 7 years old, and my daughter Hazel is 19 months.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. My daughter Hazel is we met on cruise ships, me and my wife, and my wife was adamant that my daughter wouldn't have a nautical name. That's it. It was really important that it wasn't something like Eamir or one of these other nautical names that I'd come up with. So that was fine. So we called her Hazel after my great aunt. Anyhow, her name was Hazel Marie Scott Rickson. Right? So we went to the registry office, filled it all out, and only after we'd signed the certificates, I let my wife know that we had HMS Rickson.
He keeps hitting this. If you keep hitting it on the thing, it's going to be picked up because he's hitting the old table. He is.
Oh, God.
But it's all okay. So your girls are your why.
Yes, absolutely.
And you said that with your condition now, you said that will get you in the end. But we did discuss last week that in the future you could potentially have a heart operation. Or?
Yes. So the Hail Mary play it would be to have a heart transplant. So. The condition has to be a lot worse in me, so a lot further down the road, and then you've got a 1 in 6 chance of getting a heart. So, whereas that would be amazing, especially as the condition is localized to my heart, and it would be a cure-all, essentially, it's difficult to put all your eggs in that basket. Yeah. So for me, I wanted to make sure they were taken care of, so getting the gym up and running.
So how long have you had the gym run?
So the gym is now 2 years old, but the Mighty 100 is 3 years old.
Okay. And where is that based?
So it's based in Newport Pagnell.
Okay, and so I've got to say what Scott has and the test that he does is really cool because it tells you your body fat index.
Sure.
Yeah.
Toxicity in the body.
Yeah.
So how your kidneys functioning, your liver's functioning. It tells us yes the basic stuff like body composition, the amount of visceral fat they have, the actual amount of fat you have in the body. Will also tell you what your biological age is and your muscle and bone density.
Yeah. So my biological age is like 56, so I need to go and start training. But then I put it down because I don't drink the water. So if I drink some more water, it'll probably be a lot better. Now, that setup, you have a machine, you sort of, how does it work?
Yeah, okay. So what it does is it uses a combination of electricity and ultrasound to find out all kinds of really neat bits about you. You attach the hand and the feet and you get the person to lie down, and it sends all these different electrical currents to the body, and based on the feedback and the information that you've put into the machine, it then gives you these readouts. We then typically take these readouts and give them back to you in the form of a report, but we then go over it in more detail and we go, okay, this is what these things mean.
And how does someone get like this report? Because you've got quite 16 people or so in your team, or
14 people.
14 people in your team. So you've got quite a good sized company. And do people go out to people's homes to do these tests? How would someone get this test from you?
Sure. So the test is typically done at our facility, but we do go to people's houses if they are heavier set or they're super nervous about coming into a gym environment. Okay. Gyms can be scary. So until we can convince you that our gym's a little bit different, we're happy to come out.
So you go out, you do this particular test.
Sure.
And then do you work with people on a program, or?
Yes, yeah. So what we do is we diagnose, so we find out exactly what's going on. If we go out to someone's house, typically this is all pretty routine with what we do. We're able to go through the cupboards, see exactly what their setup is like at home, talk to the people who will be their pit crew, so their support team for when they're not in the gym, and create a program around the people in the place.
So, I mean, personal training space is, I mean, there's loads of personal trainers. I've got one of my best mates is a very successful personal trainer, and it is a tough space. But then having a gym and getting people in, what would you say is the toughest thing for someone who is a personal trainer,
sure,
and is then transitioning to then become a business or company. And for yourself, you were forced,
Yeah.
and now you obviously got a very successful business. But what would you say for someone who was transitioning? What advice would you give?
What advice would I give? Well, it's difficult. When I first decided that I was going to get my own spot, you start to wear different hats. So you're no longer just personal trainer. You are now in charge of facilities. You are now in charge of staff and payroll. You now have to talk to the tax man. Like, there's all these different things and bits and pieces. I would say that everything is figure-outable, and as you go, you will learn these things. The trickiest thing is staff. So finding the right people to be in the team with you, especially in the early days when you're picking your first person to help you out or your second person, that will make or break your company. So find good eggs.
Okay, and then that's universal to every business,
Sure.
right? Getting the right people for the right roles and so forth. Now, in a world where, food is in abundance of all
Sure.
types, processed food and beer and all sorts of things that we can have. I know I was saying about beer, but your health is so important.
Yeah.
Massively, and it's overlooked. We talk about creating time and work-life balances and the why, but if you don't look after your own body, and if you wouldn't walk into a room with trash thrown around.
No.
And I suppose, and I'm guilty of this, when you are living in your body,
Yeah.
you're not necessarily seeing the trash or the damage that you're doing, because it's like ignorance is bliss. Really.
Absolutely. And one of the blessings that has come out of this sort of reverse transformation of mine is that I always was fit. I always took really good care of myself. And then as I started to come away from the fitness and neglect myself, I've started to see what it's like not to have it. Right. You never really understand something's value until it's taken or it's gone. And now I've started to realize that actually it's hard to put your shoes on, like when you've got a little bit of weight on you. You feel tired and lethargic for no reason at all. The little decisions you'd make in your day, like to go and play with your kids, you almost don't want to do it because you're too tired, or it would create just too much, it would become too uncomfortable. So I would agree. Now, with that being said, understanding that, when you feel better in yourself, you take more action. It's really important, and you see this with people that come in. We talked a little bit before about companies and how you look at the entry level into a company as a rule, and people tend to be in pretty good shape because they've got that as a priority. They're in the dating scene or whatever. They take part in sport, and then you get the main part of the company, which is this big ball in the middle. And these are the people who have to do a lot of the work. These are the people that have families, and they've put their health and well-being goals down because it's the last thing that gets done. Yeah. Right. And then at the top of the company, you find the CEOs actually are in great shape. Because they've started to identify the fact that they need to take care of themselves. If they're going to operate at the top level, their bodies need to be operating at the top level.
And they want to live longer, right?
They want to live longer.
I fall foul of the. I used to train many years ago when I used to row, massively sporty, and obviously before everything with me, one of my best friends who's a PT who's trained with all the time.
Sure.
And then things change, and you do sort of neglect yourself, and you do need to get fit. And you're right, at the top of the game, they realise that actually they want to live longer. And to live longer, you've got to look after yourself. So it's there was saying that we spend our life trying to earn money so we can have a better life, but then we end up needing to train to get back. And it's like, actually, for somebody now as well, because nobody likes being told what to do.
Sure.
But if somebody, Christmas is coming, or someone actually wanted to lose some weight or take that step, what sort of advice would you give someone initially? Because obviously some people aren't going to be able to go to a gym. Maybe they're not comfortable to go to a gym. Yeah. What sort of things would you give someone?
So one of the first and most important things that you can do is to get a strategy put into place. Okay. Like what you see time and time again is people just going for it, which is great, and they burn up a lot of enthusiasm and willpower, but unfortunately they haven't channeled it correctly, so they end up not getting the results that they are expecting, and as a result they fall off the wagon. I used to work at DW Gym. Right. And foot traffic, so the membership number was about 5,000, and foot traffic in January was roughly that, because people have had the New Year, New Me inspiration. Yep. Foot traffic come the end of March was around about 900. Right. So we're talking about almost a 70% drop off in that time. That's why they have to sell you year-long contracts. And why is that? A lot of the time, people have the wrong expectation around what it is they should be achieving. So get a strategy, understand where you should be by when, so get your KPIs, and make those small steps to move towards them. And so often as well, people are unaware that it's actually little things that make the big differences. Like joining the gym and going to 3 spin classes and going keto is great, but ultimately it's going to be quite short-lived if you're someone that isn't used to that lifestyle.
And it's also it's like a mindset as well, isn't it? Because lots of people go on diets, they might go on juice diets, they do all these things, but it's not sustainable.
No.
So you have to make a habit a way of life.
Absolutely. And that's why we focus a lot on hydration to start off with. I mean, for example, you've got a 3.7 litre water flask in there.
I know.
That you've just bought.
It's broken down into sections, and I looked at it and went, oh my gosh, that's a lot of water, but that's what I should be drinking.
But if you start to do that,
day.
let's say you have two or three of those now whilst you're sitting here chatting to your people or whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to start to feel better. The weight's going to start to come off you, and you're going to feel like you want to engage with the next step. Now, typically, if you just start eating dark green leafy vegetables and appreciating the alkalization that comes with that, your liver starts functioning properly, you start to put them into your meals. So it's no longer a diet that you're doing, it's just something that you do now. The more you drink, the thirstier you'll become. It just becomes something that you do now. And then you start to look at the amount of sugar in your diet. And reducing sugar is quite easy when you actually realize how much you're having.
Yeah, I one thing actually. I mean, we touched it on one of the dojo sessions or one of the podcasts I did before. Connecting the conscious and the subconscious mind by changing a simple word to choose. So, for example, if you're on a diet, most people, if they are on a diet, they'll go, I can't have this chocolate or I can't have this beer. And actually they can. They just choose not to because they want to lose weight or they want to feel better. So rather than fighting with each other in the subconscious and conscious, by saying the word choose, saying, I choose not to have that chocolate because I want to lose weight, it stops the argument of the conscious and subconscious. And that also helps people through dietary plans or whatever it is they want to do. Because,
sure, absolutely.
They'll go, if you go, I can't have that chocolate because I'll put on weight, or I can't have that chocolate because I'm on a diet, you'll want it because people always want what they can't have.
Oh God, absolutely. You know, one of the things we teach our people, there's a guy called Dr. Stephen Peters. You've probably read The Chimp Paradox. It was sort of a industry-changing book for us, and it talks about neuroscience, but breaks it down into you have a chimp part of your brain and a frontal cortex part of your brain. And the frontal cortex part of your brain is responsible for long-term goals. Yes, I want to lose weight. I want to move towards the best version of myself. And the limbic portion, the chimp bit, is way more powerful. It controls the drugs, but it just wants to have sex and live in a cave and eat chocolate. That's what it wants to do.
I can't complain with that. That's quite.
When you get home and you've had a really rough day, maybe you're feeling hormonal or tired, and you get in and there's chocolate in your cupboard, that's your chimp is going, let's have that chocolate. Your 2.5 million-year-old caveman or woman brain is going, eat the chocolate.
Eat the chocolate.
However, if you can engage that frontal cortex part of your brain, even just for a second, it makes a massive difference. So, for example, have your chocolate. It's there. You haven't done a good enough job of protecting yourself from the worst version of you. It's in your cupboard. You get home. Have a glass of water first, engage with the frontal cortex of your brain, and then decide whether or not you want the chocolate. And 9 times out of 10, you won't want it.
So the Chimp Paradox. What other books? Have you got any other books that you think would be good for people to?
Aggressive Health is a brilliant one by Stephen Nash. And that talks about sort of stuff we already know in a lot more detail. But he talks about the power of things like alkalization.
Okay.
And when you start putting the things in that book into practice, oh man, what a difference it makes.
Okay. So, I'm going to give you 3 questions.
Sure.
What advice, how old are you now?
31.
31. So what advice would you give your younger self?
Ooh. What advice would I give my younger self? Okay. Trust everyone, but believe nothing.
Trust everyone, but believe nothing.
Yeah. Okay. What else? I would probably tell my younger self to use Regain earlier.
What's that?
It's a hair product.
Oh right, okay.
That's it.
So this will be going out on a podcast as well. I'm actually drinking some water, and I don't normally drink water at all. And I hasn't got any hair.
That's
so when it goes out on the podcast later,
should have used it earlier.
Okay.
And the third thing I would say is, put more savings aside.
More savings aside?
Yeah, for sure. If I'd have put 20% of everything I earned aside from an early age, you'd be sitting pretty now.
Okay. So, but you want to blow up your business now, right?
Yes.
I've got another question. What do you want to do when you grow up?
Sure.
In fact, we'll do that one next.
What do I want to do when I grow up?
Yeah, grow up, yeah.
When I grow up, oh my God, I'd love to be a museum curator.
A what?
A museum curator. That'd be a brilliant retirement job.
Really?
Oh yeah, we'll run a museum, explain what everything is.
Okay.
Great.
We heard it here first.
Yeah, that's it.
So you've got to blow up the business and be a museum... What? Museum?
Museum curator.
Curator. Okay.
That's it.
Cool. So what does success look like for you? Because
So,
you've already been successful because you've
Sure.
you've had your heart attack, you've survived that, you've got a beautiful family, very successful business.
sure.
But what does success for the future for you? Oh no.
To escape the rat race, to get to the point where my money is working for me rather than me working for my money, from a fiscal perspective. The idea of walking into work at 2 o'clock with a rolled up newspaper under my arm and waving to the receptionist, having an hour in the conference room and then going home.
Okay.
That's a pretty sweet vision right there.
Yeah. That's the success for you. That's your.
That's it.
And when's
That's
that
how I'll know.
when's that going to happen?
Let's say 3 years from now.
3 years. Okay. So what's that? 2022.
Yeah,
Good
2022.
Now we were talking as well. We was talking earlier actually around Tesla and the Cybertruck.
Yes,
And
it's gorgeous.
yeah. So I've ordered one of the Cybertrucks. I've put my deposit down. You haven't yet, have you?
I haven't, no.
Because he's got range anxiety.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, and Tesla. I mean, but Chris for Extreme Cleaning, he's ordered one as well.
Oh my God.
But we were saying it was actually an amazing piece of marketing, because it wasn't any marketing. It was the rate. I think the amount of sales. I think was something like 45 million in pre-orders and over 8 billion in future orders. And
Absolute genius.
Marketing. Yeah.
I mean, the demo even went wrong.
Oh, I think that was a stunt.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I mean, although he did swear, which was quite funny.
He did, yeah.
I mean, Elon, when you're in the UK, we've definitely got to interview you, dude, because you know that. But that was it was. I mean, it's a massive vehicle as well.
Oh gosh, huge, absolutely.
I mean, it's literally something from the future. I'm surprised you haven't ordered one.
You know what? It's just the noise of the truck. That's what I love. That's why I love trucks. I fell in love with trucks when I was in Canada, and it was just the sound of the V8.
But you can just put that. You can put like music on.
You could put the
No,
music on.
I like my music.
A truck is not designed to glide in.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know what? It's going to come out. You're all going to have one. I'm definitely going to get one.
Yeah.
Because that's just.
I mean, that was very clever, wasn't it? I mean, you got the pre-orders. Thought really outside of the box. So many people, it's either love it or hate it. Everyone is wanting to hate on him or hate on it,
Sure.
but hey, it's got the orders. You need haters. That's
it.
If you care for what everyone thinks,
And if you've ever watched any of Elon Musk's interview, you know that he doesn't care.
no.
Like, he does not care.
He's a futurist, isn't he? I mean,
He is a futurist,
it's
for sure.
phenomenal. So your business, we've got the Mighty 100.
Yep.
What's the website?
So mighty100.com.
Okay, and from there, be able to book tests or see the gym, see all the stuff.
Yeah, so typically the first thing we do is we have this transformation session where we hook you up to one of those machines that you were talking about there.
Yeah, I know. And then it just makes you feel old.
Yeah,
It tells you your
yeah,
old
that's it.
score. So it's like, ah. And what about Instagram or Facebook?
Sure, yeah, okay, so we are on Instagram and Facebook as the Mighty 100 for both. We're also launching this new Fat PT, which is me going through a program that I've created for everyone that's totally free.
And that's quite cool, actually, isn't it? Because in lots of things, you'd say you wouldn't normally go for a fat PT. You wouldn't have a
No.
PT who's fat. Because you go, hey, if you can't taste the words that come out of your mouth, why would I use you?
Yeah.
But actually, yours was a medical reason, and you were extremely successful
That's it.
before. But
Well, the problem is I use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
So as soon as I was told I couldn't exercise anymore, that was it for me. I decided that I wasn't going to train, and if I wasn't going to train, then what's the point of eating right? If I can't be this, then I might as well be that. And it's taken me the best part of 5 years to be like, you know what, actually I need to work on myself, because you know, I'd never talk to a client and take it as an excuse. There's always a way. Everything is always figure-outable. And my journey, in fact, on my journey so far, I've done 2 workouts and had 2 heart attacks during my workouts, which are worth checking out.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I go
how
into
many heart
VT
attacks
storms.
have you had?
So depending on how you clarify a heart attack, I would have had over 30 heart attacks by now. Yeah.
Over 30 heart attacks.
Yeah. So fortunately, my defibrillator that helps me out, so it brings me back round. It does something called anti-tachycardial pacing before that happens. But so what I'm trying to prove is that there is always a way. I work with other people, the charity organisation Cry, and other people, the RVC Online, to try and find ways to try and stay in shape, because the drugs we take unfortunately put weight on us, even if our diet's good. And the exercise ban mean that we get heavier and heavier, and people who are in the latter stages of having the condition are 25 stone, almost 30 stone plus sometimes.
Wow.
Reason being they've simply just continued to compound and gain weight. So there's got to be a way, and we're going to figure it out. But that's on Instagram, so we're in the Fat PT. Also, there's a free program for anyone who wants to be involved.
What's the is it at Fat PT or what? What's the Instagram handle?
It is actually at Fat PT.
At Fat PT.
Yeah, that's it.
Really? That's very cool to get that handle.
It is, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's all my wife. I actually haven't been on Instagram.
Right.
But she's figuring it all out for me and put it all up on there. So I just get the feedback and that, okay, this person needs talking to. Message hand across to me.
Okay, so at Fat PT.
That's it. That's me.
Okay, fantastic. So before we go, 5 top tips for losing weight or getting...
So top tips for losing weight. 1, drink your water. Take care of your liver. Number 2, make whatever program you're doing sustainable for you. So by that I mean, don't go to an extreme. Don't be tempted to suddenly go vegan or keto to try and achieve that result. Have something that mirrors what you're doing, just a slightly healthier version of your day-to-day behaviors and rituals. Number 3, get consistent with your exercising. It doesn't have to be extreme exercise. It can just be a little bit of something that you do regularly. 4, I would say have your dark green leafy vegetables. People underestimate your dark green leafy veg. People tend to underestimate the value of vegetables, especially things like kale, spinach, broccoli, and all the rest of it. And the 5th thing is learn to love what you're doing. If your exercise and your nutrition causes you pain in whatever way, psychologically or physically, it burns up willpower, and willpower is finite. So find something, find foods that you fall in love with, find a training method that you fall in love with, and then just enjoy the journey, because you can actually enjoy weight loss. Like a lot of people think that you can't, and it's going to be a miserable time until you're done at the other side.
When people suddenly say you're not allowed to drink beer or anything like that anymore, I mean, that's crazy.
Well, that's it, but any good nutritionalist will tell you that you can still drink beer.
And everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation. Also, beer, for example, has a relatively low GI. So as long as that's all you drink, you have a glass of water between each drink, then you're okay.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you very much, Scott, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Follow Scott, check out his story. There'll be a link below, and get onto his Instagram, which is @FatPT.
That's it.
I'll call his Instagram. Have a great one and speak soon. Take care.